you feel it in the nighttime, and you've given all your days while they were waiting on the right time. You went and made your wave. I don't need reasons to live. There's no reason to quit, it's all I know. So once again, I'm gone with the summer. Yeah. Gone with the summer. Once again, I'm gone with the summer. They be trying to count us out, we highly endowed. They must not know what's at stake, what we fighting about. This tradition to a wordsmith and missile shooter. I'm my automatic sniper, I bet this'll do ya. I give reason and ether to all the line soldiers. I'm undefeated, my region remains on my shoulders. I've cried nights, that's only because of highlights. I find life in knowing I'm playing mine right. Wicked crimes from them wanna-be crowned. Try to lead me to the deep where I might cunningly drown. At times I thought they got me where they wanted me now. But like the sun, I rise up when I don't wanna be down, and that's I know you feel it in the nighttime, and you've given all your days while they were waiting on the right time. You went and made your wave. I don't need reasons to live. There's no reason to quit, it's all I know. So once again, I'm gone with the summer. Yeah. Gone with the summer. They ain't never been eye to eye with Satan in the broad daylight. Gone left while they all sway right. A true maverick, unbothered by what y'all made right. A naysayer slayer, I'm filleting all daylight. Yeah, we in that upside down, I manage not to sink. They keep our eyes wide shut, I manage not to blink. Another decade or maybe they not faking. Maybe it's more to it, maybe we got taken advantage of. Either way, the damage is done. The bottom feeders get to eat all them glamorous crumbs. Where all them seekers of truth, the speakers of the youth. We come and go with the summers, keep believing in you. I know you feel it in the nighttime, and you've given all your days while they were waiting on the right time. You went and made your wave. I don't need reasons to live. There's no reason to quit, it's all I know. So once again, I'm gone with the summer. Yeah. Gone with the summer. Yeah. Once again, I'm gone with the summer.
Now Hey, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Facebook.
Well, we're on more than Facebook,
I'm sorry,
honey.
I'm so used to saying that. Welcome to Marriage Refresh TV.
Absolutely. Yes, we
Yeah,
are. We're expanding. We're on marriage. We're on. People can watch from our website by
yes.
going to www.marriagerefresh.net/MRTV, and you can watch the live feed from there. So it is a good thing that if you know someone that's not in social media and go
Right.
there, you can also go on our on YouTube and look up Marriage Refresh, and you'll find our live stream channel there. And just so many different ways that you can really get to us. So
Awesome. Thanks to you,
yeah,
handsome techie.
I'm always tinkering. I'm
Yes.
always tinkering.
That's
And
awesome.
so we got YouTube, we got Marriage Refresh, we got on our website, of course, and you can watch us on Facebook.
Hmm.
And so, tell a neighbor, tell a friend, they can catch up with Marriage Refresh all day long. So today we are sporting our
Oh, yes.
shirts from Pastor Shante Charles, and it says "Humans are gonna human, love them anyhow." So
Awesome.
that's what our thing is. Love them anyway, not anyhow.
Yeah, anyway.
Love them anyway. Hashtag love them anyway. So we ordered our shirts. We just got them, and they are awesome. Thank you, Pastor Charles,
Thank
for
you.
hooking us up. We paid for them. We don't do the hookup. We didn't do the hookup. We paid for them.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, we have to
We do.
support businesses and support black businesses, support business anyway, but you should be equal across the board wherever you go.
Hmm.
And you don't ask somebody else for a discount. Don't ask people a discount just because you know them, whatever, right?
Exactly. And thank you for sparkling mine up just a little bit. I
Ye-
appreciate that.
Yeah, I figured you would like the glitter. It's stand us apart a little bit. And Pastor Shante, she already cut her shirt up. That's just her signature mark that she
That's
gonna
me.
cut
I'm
it
gonna
up.
design my
Yeah, and
T-shirt.
make it look a little fancy. So we really do thank you for this. Tonight we have a great episode. We are going to walk you through, and Tamika and I have been talking about this, and we're gonna probably do it. I think we're gonna do it. We normally charge for this, but we're going to. I think during this time, pandemic, I've been hearing some. I heard a couple of crazy stories early in the pandemic about how negative impact that the pandemic was having on marriages, but
Hmm.
I've started to hear some positive stories
Okay.
about where people are re-engaging really with their spouse,
Hmm.
getting to really know their spouse, and their marriage is starting to come into or transform into something that they weren't expecting it to be. So
Right.
that
Developing, redeveloping a good friendship.
yeah, they're developing
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so,
Courtship. I guess you say, hey, if I got to be home with you all day.
yeah, side chicks ain't available, side roosters not available, or can't hang out with the fellas all the time,
Right.
even if it ain't always cheating. So you can't hang out. So you having to be at home more and engage and get to know your
And a
family.
lot of times we just spend majority of our day at our workplace, at our jobs, away from home. So.
That's true too.
Hmm.
That's true too. So one of the things that I'm just listening to and watching, I think it's Jada Pinkett Smith in the beginning. She was like, she didn't realize until the pandemic how much she really didn't know her husband.
Hmm.
And so, you think about the number of years they've been married and how that plays in. So tonight we want to kind of walk you through at a high level what our pre-marriage education looks like, but we also use some of this depending on where the married couples are. We pull back out of our pre-marriage education course, and normally if you buy it as a package as a part of our pre-marriage education, this $300 course, if you was to do it everything that we offer in the packet and you was to do it pay as you go, you're talking about over $540 because it's a worthwhile investment.
Right.
However, we've been contemplating offering a couple of intensives for free, for absolutely free, whether you're married or you're thinking about getting married. If you are thinking about getting married, this may be an opportunity for you to go through our intensive and get it for free. Only thing you have to pay for is your certificate in the printing, and that won't be expensive at all. But we're thinking of just the knowledge alone is going to be valuable, and we're looking at doing an intensive where we won't do the full everything and spend hours and hours and hours like we do with couples, but we will definitely spend a few sessions and kind of walk through. But tonight, because we want to tackle the question of I can't let go, is your marriage thriving or surviving? Because we want to tackle that tonight, I thought the best way for us to really get it is to talk about the things that we talk about with couples, whether they're coming in for marriage coaching or they're coming in for pre-marriage education or relationship coaching, to kind of hit some of it. And one of the things we're going to really hit hard is one of our favorite homework assignments. And we'll talk about some of the homework assignments we give out throughout this, and you may look at it like, oh, but we're going to talk about some of the we're going to go in depth with one of our homework assignments that we give, and a lot of times it's where we start if we sense that it is the area that really needs to be uncovered. And it's our communication homework assignment. So, you ready to dig in?
Ready to dig in.
All right,
I
then.
just want to say, though, with the topic, I can't let go. You know, the only thing I'm thinking about is the Anthony Hamilton.
That's exactly the song.
No matter what the people say.
That's I'm gonna love you anyway.
I
You
can't
are my
let
life.
go.
Oh yeah, that's my song. That's my song.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And Burgess Broxton. Don't call me out about my singing, bruh. Don't call me out about my singing.
I can't let go. All right.
You ready?
We're
I
ready.
love that song. Good song. So normally where we start at in our pre-marriage education or even marriage coaching is why marriage? We think that there are 3 questions you should answer before saying I do. 3 questions you absolutely 100% should answer before saying I do. If you don't answer these questions, or if you're already married and you don't have answers to these questions, this is a good place to start.
To go back.
Exactly. Go back and do your work. In my young Van Zant voice, do your work. And you cover those three questions. And the 3 questions are so important. The 3 questions are so important. It's 1, why marriage? No matter who it is, if you can marry Beyonce tomorrow, you know, if that's your dream girl, or you can marry Lupita Nyong'o or Issa Rae or somebody like that tomorrow. No, those are nice ladies. Yeah. I didn't say I married my dream girl. But Issa and Lupita Nyong'o, if you could marry either of them or whoever it is, you could Idris Elba and Denzel and all those little scants right there. If you could marry any of those guys or whatever, why marriage? No matter who you're marrying, why marriage? That question aims to get at why you even want to do it, because we find that a lot of people are in love with the idea of marriage and they're fascinated by the wedding, but then the marriage just shows up like an unexpected guest. Like, this is like the family member who's just gonna come stay the weekend, and the weekend done turned into 6 months. Like, when they going home? That's kind of how the marriage ends up showing up, right? So the second question is, why this person? Why this particular person for marriage? Why are you marrying this person? Why are you choosing them? Why did you accept the proposal? Why did you propose? Why this particular person? And then the third thing that we really hit at is, what's God's return and investment on this marriage? What is his return and investment on this marriage? What is he getting out of it? Why would he bring the 2 of you together? To what does he hope to produce out of your union?
Yes, what is the purpose of this union?
That is what, at the heart, that's what these 3 questions really are shooting for, is what is the purpose that you shoot for. So those are the 3 questions that we try and lay out there just to get the juices flowing, right? And a lot of times we send people home with just those 3 questions because they're not ready to really answer, or they give us answers that are really kind of superficial, and it takes some time to unpack it. and really think about it.
And not wrong, just surface answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult because too, if you're already married and trying to answer these, you're trying to sometimes fit a square hole into a square peg into a round hole, or because you're like, I'm in it now. Why do these questions matter? But these questions can still help you unlock, areas that you may need to grow and correct and get to that place of thriving instead of surviving in your marriage. Anything you want to add before we move on from this section, babe?
No, that's good.
Good. All right. So the next thing we hit is your vows. We get into the vows and we start really breaking the vows down. Like, if you're married, you stood up there and you said, for richer and for poor, for sickness and in health, and for death do us part, and the love and the cherish, the good time, the bad time, love and happiness. Yeah, you up there singing all of that. But the reality is, a lot of times, even though we say for better or for worse, we're saying the worst part without really thinking about the worst part.
Or knowing what our worst is.
Yeah. That's one of the questions we often ask is, what is your worst? What is your worst? And when we're asking that question of what is your worst, sometimes it really does get people, because they have to really dig into, well, what is my worst? Because sometimes what you think is your worst, and we start to explore, well, why is that your worst? Because once you name a worst, we want to know, well, why is that your worst? And that causes you to really look at and explore too, even further, while you're getting into it.
Right. And then for couples that we even talk to about your vows after you even have taken them, what is your worst? A lot of times they think about, or what they would have said was their worst at the beginning or just going into marriage changes, because they go, oh, I've experienced part of my worst, or experienced my worst, and hey, I'm still here.
Yep.
Or I'm still married. So.
Yep. So those are the vows. Anything you want to add on top of that with regard to the vows?
On the vows, just remember, unless you were getting to that next, who we are making those vows to.
No, go ahead. Tell the people.
That we are making these vows about the son or daughter to God, not to each other. So the vows are not me making the vow to you. Because a lot of times, and I heard this in go back to relationship goals when I was listening to it, that when we stand up there, a lot of times when we just don't inquire or do pre-marriage coaching or whatever, we are hoping. You're standing up there hoping that you're able to actually go through when you take those vows, or these are things you're hoping you can do in the marriage, and a lot of times until you get so many years in, or you've experienced a lot in marriage and what true love is, then you can truly say, hey, I'm taking these vows to heart. And this is what I really mean. And from here, I can go forward, because you actually experienced it. But in the beginning, you're standing up there going, oh, my God, I hope I can really, accomplish these things or do these things.
Yes, that is true.
For better or for worse, richer and poor, sickness and health. Because a lot of times, like you said, we don't think about it deeply, kind of surface. Oh, yeah, because we have, in this perception, because we have a perception what richer or poor may look like, or for better or worse. And then when the situation is different that you actually experience in marriage, in a relationship, you go, oh, I wasn't expecting it, because you wasn't expecting it that way.
Exactly. And I've run into the place where people, when they one of the girls, and I tease her about it, at her and they say, for richer and for poor, and she's saying for richer and for richer, and so I tease her. I said, but what you're actually saying to your husband is, hey, if you're not ever financially in a place of rich, then I'm out. And she's like, I mean that, and we were just joking and teasing about it, but your words can be that thing, and then that can create a fear in that person, like, I got to do whatever it is, because if I don't ever have, then she gonna be out the door, or vice versa, So I think that can be something that really does hit, and people just don't, really don't get it, saying. So I think that's important.
Because because you don't think that far or think that deep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't sit there and go, oh, what if this, and this happened? The things you are thinking about are, like you saying, little small things that may happen or this may happen. Because at that point, we still are in love with the idea or thinking about the idea of marriage and what we think it'll be like.
Right,
Hmm.
exactly, exactly. And that idea part is really something that hits in your, and then when the reality of marriage,
Right, the
that
reality.
long overstayed housemate shows up, then it's like, oh my goodness,
Right.
what am I gonna do? So yeah, yeah. Um, our next one is intimacy,
Hmm.
and we call it a 4 point connection: physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. That all four of those things have to happen. And there's times where there may be some out of syncness for an individual, and thus it throws you off as a couple. Um, but it may not always be hitting on four signals, because I could be strong emotionally and mentally and spiritually, but I'm having some physical health, and eventually that physical health is going to play with my emotional, my mental, and even my spiritual health.
Hmm.
And so if I'm having a hard time struggling emotionally, that can play on my mental. Well, it's all interconnected.
Right.
And so you need to check on each other, that you're connected first, that that person has a peace within
Selves,
themselves,
yeah.
that
You're
they are,
connected with yourself.
yes, that you're connected with yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Hmm.
Because listen, if your spouse is not connected within themselves, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, then it is going to be difficult for them to connect with you in any
Right.
of those ways. And sometimes we don't get that, or sometimes we don't see that, or we don't embrace that part. But it is a truth
Hmm.
that if you don't get into that position or into that spot of connecting, um, making sure that they are connected. I mean, just look at your spouse and talk to them. Say, hey, how are you feeling physically? How are
Right.
you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling spiritually? Where are you at? And then also share those same things about you, because that creates a level of intimacy and transparency, where if I'm not doing good or I'm not doing well, one of the things for me is like, when I'm not feeling well in my body, I really don't. It's a lot of time to me go find out, like, well, how long you been dealing with this? Like a week. You've been like, yes, I'm been in this, and then she get on me, and I get all kind of chewed out and whatever. But it's like you just kind of don't want to worry the other person, but you
Hmm.
really do need to get to that place of like, hey, I'm in this place, or I'm in that place, or how I'm feeling, or whatever,
All
so
right.
that you can have that. But once you can connect with yourself, then you have an easier time, or more likely time of connecting with your spouse.
All right. And I think you need a good balance of all of them.
Hmm.
Not just one more than the other, but a good balance of all four.
Right.
Kind of like you put the picture here. That and what else I was gonna say? A good balance of, oh, and knowing that you have to always work on them. Because you are in that place or have a good balance at one point, don't mean you'll always be there. I
Right.
think it's something that you definitely have to constantly work on.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. I think that that's very, very important. Um, very important. So having that connection, that intimacy, that 4 point connection. When we started out, we used to focus on kind of a 3 point connection, but really it
Mhm.
is a 4 point connection,
It is.
in order to create that intimacy. And it really starts with your internal
Starts with
connection with
yourself.
yourself, of being whole, and then moving out from there,
Mhm.
right?
And being honest about not being whole or where you lack in the emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, whichever one it is.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And being honest with your spouse.
Exactly. Hmm. I caught that. So we're gonna move to the
What
next
did you
one.
get?
We're gonna move to the next one. I ain't gonna say nothing. Communication. Communication.
Communication.
That's imagination. SpongeBob. It's
It's
imagination.
communication.
That's why you had opposite day at work. That's exactly why you had opposite day. So with communication, it's the art of listening to understand each other, not the listening to respond to each other.
Right.
And this is the part where we get to one of our exercises. It's my favorite exercise to listen to the couples come back and talk about. It's my favorite exercise to explain and expand on, but listening to the conversations, particularly the couples that go all the way with this.
Yeah.
And I want to spend a little bit of time in this. So we have a communication exercise that we encourage couples to go in. And again, we're not going to go too deep, but we call it every room in the house, meaning you have a conversation in every room of the house because each room of the house represents something different. Each room of the house represents something different. So every room in the house is a marriage refresh, copyrighted and trademarked. Every room in the house is an exercise that we encourage couples to go through. And we give 5 representative rooms. You can take this as far as you want to. You can go talk in the yard if you want to, but it needs to represent something everywhere that you go and you represent. So here's what we like to hit every room in the house. We recommend starting in the kitchen, and that's for marriage nutrition. And one of the reasons we look at the kitchen is because what are you feeding your relationship? Whether you're married or not, what are you feeding your relationship? Are you feeding it plenty of drama? Are you feeding it healthy things? Are you feeding it junk food? And junk food would be things that are like the fairy tales, unspoken expectations. What are you feeding your marriage? Now, we've had some couples that
reality shows, other people's relationships,
all of that, all of that. And we've had some couples, like I said, that went all the way. They literally, and this is what we encourage, literally, if you have to sit on the floor, you have to pull up a chair. One couple said, we literally sat in the kitchen on the floor and just talked. And we had not just sat in the kitchen on the floor and just talked in a long time. And they talked about the things that they were really feeding their marriage. Wow. That's powerful. Wow. And so the kitchen is an area. Another place that we encourage or we tell you out of the 5 rooms, so the kitchen, is the living room. This is about family matters and connectivity. And so if you have children, this might be where you bring the children into the discussion, but this is where you talk about, family vacations. You talk about, how things are going in school, who's the latest crush, what's the latest thing you're dealing with or struggling with or wrestling with or whatever, when's the next basketball game? When's the next brain brawl? This is where the family connection, or you connecting, you play video games together, whatever it is, board games. This is that where you talk about, are we connecting as a family?
Right. So I definitely think you include the kids.
Yeah. Are we connecting as a family? So that's the living room conversation. How do the kids feel? Do the kids feel like they have a stable home? And how do they feel about y'all's relationship? Not that you're looking to bring kids into adult business, but you're like, how do you feel about your home?
My favorite thing, you're letting them know they have a voice. They don't have that vote, but they do have a voice.
Yes, they do not have a vote, but they do have a voice.
Right.
And too many times kids feel they do not have a voice in their own home. So we try our best to give our kids a voice. At this particular point, we really only have one kid. We have children, but we only have one kid in the home. The other one is an adult living at home.
So she's
yeah.
A
little bit different.
A little bit different.
Yeah, she about to get a bill.
Right.
So, cell phone bill. I'm going to give that to her. So
she has a bigger voice. I don't know if you've given her that
she
vote.
still don't have a vote per se. It depends on the topic. But the living room is where you have these conversations. The next part is the dining room. I always look at the dining room as like the board room.
Business.
Yeah, the business. Yeah, you sit around and you eat in the dining room table. But I always look at the dining room as family business. It's the boardroom. It's where we talk about the budget. It's where we talk about the money that's going to fund the vacation. It's where we talk about, if we don't own a home, what's our plan to own a home or purchase a home?
Right.
All of the things that come along with
Future
plans,
vision.
retirement, businesses, whatever. Your dining room is like the boardroom. Do you know your spouse's dreams? Do you know what their dreams are in life? Sometimes at the boardroom table, in the dining room, is where you can find those things out.
Exactly.
So,
and we're not talking around dinner time when you're eating.
Right.
Right.
Right. We're talking about just go sit at the table.
Right.
And these are not one-time conversations, but go sit at the table, have a conversation. Okay? Now, the bedroom, our connection. Our connection. And this goes beyond. This goes back to the intimacy. The four, working on those 4 connection points is the bedroom. It's where we talk about the physical, but we talk about the spiritual, we talk about the emotional, and we talk about the mental. Those are the things, these are the where we can lay our secrets. This is where we can be naked with each other, where we can be transparent with each other. This is the bedroom, and that's where these things should happen. And you have those discussions about what's going well and what's not going well in that area, in terms of connecting. Then the last of this is and the bathroom, and that's where the healing and the detoxing comes, where we get to heal and detox. And we have had couples that said, hey, we sat on the floor in the bathroom and we just had a conversation. We cried. We covered the issues that we had. It was tough. The bathroom is one of the toughest places.
It's the waste. It's where the waste goes.
It's where the waste goes. It's where we wash off the dirt. It's where we wash off where we get out the waste. Some of your marriages are suffering because your marriage is constipated. I'm going to just say it like that.
Yeah,
it's stopped up. It's backed up. Nothing can go down the drain. You need some marriage Drano, relationship Drano, and that happens in the bathroom.
Marriage
Yeah, Central Magnesia, Maalox, whatever it is, you need some of all of that. Pepto-Bismol, you need it all because your marriage got bubble guts, and you need to take care of that. So those are the 5 rooms that we recommend. My wife wants to add one that we don't cover, but
well, I was just thinking about it because when we were talking about physical or whatever, and of course I watch a lot of HGTV, and a lot of people have a gym or workout room in their home. So to work on the physical together, that's communication, that's bringing us together. A little treadmill, a little weights.
For the rich marriages, then y'all got a gym, the home gym for the rich marriage people. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, some people, depends on how their houses are, how big they are, whatever, they have home gym. So I'm just thinking that's a great place to work on the physical part of your marriage.
It is.
Outside of the bedroom.
Outside of the bedroom.
That can be a physical place as well. But, just physical home gym, work it out.
Okay, cool. So let's hit money. Till death do us part. Till death do us part.
Debt, not death.
Yeah, debt. Till death do us part. Money is one of those topics that either couples find it easy to talk about or they find it difficult to talk about. There's usually no middle ground a lot of the times because people are raised in different homes. They're raised with different ideologies when it comes to money and how to manage money and those type of things. And so it really is, it's that topic. I know it's been in our 21 years, it's definitely been that ongoing, off again, on again topic. We still don't find it easy to necessarily talk about it. We find some things that work for us. We definitely have some things that we need to get better at. But money is one of those things. When you've gone through different things, when you've had different challenges, money is just can be a tough discussion to have. And I think even when money is good, it can be a tough discussion to have
Right.
because when you have an abundance, you feel like we don't really need to talk about anything.
Right.
And that can be a surefire way to fail.
And I think a lot of times people fail to talk about money up front or before marriage
Yes.
because it's tough. You kind of assume you don't have the conversation. You kind of assume, hey, they manage this way. I'm really not sure, but you're kind of going off of a little bit what you see, but not completely. Or either you're blind or refusing to see the reality of it that they have it there because you're in. Again, it goes back to the idea of, and you think, hey, if they're this way, that they'll certainly change once we say I do or get married, or I'll handle it, or I'll just let him handle it. Those things. So
Yeah.
having an honest conversation about money.
Yeah, and there's no cookie cutter. People ask, well, should we have a joint account? Should we not? Should we split the bill? Should we not? There's so many different things. I think you have to find.
Yeah.
There's two things you have to find in me: the thing that honors God and the thing that honors each other.
Mm-hmm.
The thing
a
that
common ground.
Yeah, a common ground. And so I think that's very important. Is not being, when I say honoring each other, not being deceptive with the money, not I've had some conversations with wives who tell the children to hurry up and get the Amazon packages and hide them because they don't want the daddy to find the packages or whatever. We've never had that problem of hiding stuff, although my wife is the senior archbishop of the Ben Had ministry.
Okay.
But
so you just gonna throw me under the bus today. That's okay.
yes, your hands cold, girl. No, but
That's fine.
there's a lot of Ben Had ministries that go on in husbands and wives. And the Ben Had ministry is when somebody sees something new and they like, that look new. I've been had this. I've been had this. Yeah. Because they been had it 4 months ago and they break it out 5 months. So it looked like this been in my closet for forever. You ain't seen no bag. This the Ben Had ministry. So
but that is true a lot, right?
A lot when? A lot when where?
Well, Ben had it.
Yeah, you been had it, but it is deceptive. You been had it. It's deceptive.
How?
Like,
if I've been had it and you just seeing it, 5 or 6 months later?
Depending on why I'm just seeing it 5 or 6 months later.
Okay. Not because it was in the trunk or anything.
Woo. Coming in a Hyundai. All right. Children and family. Priorities and legacy. And when we talk about children and family, we're talking about like raising, how you're going to raise and parent children, because you may have difference of that. You may have a religion factor in there where dad wants to go to church, mom doesn't want to go to church, and the kids don't want to go to church because they see mom staying at home. And so there's a whole conversation. There's so many different things that come in this, but there's also another part is your external family, the meddling mother-in-law, father-in-law, getting in those type of things or whatever. Right. Those things are important because they happen and they are topics to be discussed.
Definitely.
And so setting those boundaries, talking about how you're going to discipline the kids, talking about how you're going to raise the kids, what's important. Those are things that should happen before you have children. A lot of times it does not, because there's just some things you don't even become aware of or think about until after you've gotten married and you start having children. And you're like, I don't know that I like that, the way you handle that situation. But we talk a lot about how when you disagree, particularly with the children, that you don't challenge each other in front of the children unless there's some imminent harm about to happen to a child. But you don't challenge the children or challenge the parent, the spouse in front of the child. And even when you disagree on something, I have a friend and they, couple of different friends I've had this conversation with, and they were talking about how situation went down and they told the child, look, no Xbox for 2 months or something like that, right? And the wife didn't say anything or whatever. And so the wife went in and like, hey, I think that's a little harsh. They had a conversation, and it's like, okay, listen, this is what I'll do. I'll back it down to this if they can do these things or whatever. And so the wife's like, fine. Now, what naturally happens sometimes, and this is where problems come in, is wife go out there, well, he ain't gonna keep it that long, so just don't worry about it. Just do what you're supposed to do. But the wife instead is like, okay, I'm gonna let that play out.
Right.
Then when it played out and the child did what they needed to do, the wife let the dad go back and say, hey, you really been on top of your game. I appreciate that. I'm gonna lessen your punishment. Instead of it looking like mom went in there and put dad in his place, and now that's why the punishment changed.
Right.
Those type of things are important. Sip tea? Okay. So,
Right.
anything you want to add to that?
No, because at that point it's disrespectful.
Yes. Very disrespectful. Highly disrespectful. Oh, girl, I like the way you think. So, let's go ahead and get to our next thing. So it's decision time. This might be one of the most uncomfortable parts of what we teach or provide in our pre-marriage education, because just because you have gotten engaged and done these things does not mean that you should move forward and get married to this person. Hopefully, by the time you've completed all of these sessions with us, that you have looked and decided, yes, we can work through. This doesn't mean that your marriage is going to be perfect. It just
Right.
means that we feel that we are properly equipped, to deal with the challenges, and we're going to continue the conversations to make sure we're ahead of the challenges.
We're
It-
more open-minded
We're
about
more-
the challenges and the realities that will come.
Yes. And I think in our pre-marriage education, and I wouldn't tell married, I don't know, maybe married people should do this too. We
What's
hadn't given this assignment to a married couple, but when we tell the couples to write the two letters, write your letter of, um, write your letter of resignation and your letter of termination. Meaning, you write a letter to your spouse, and in that letter, you're saying to your spouse, you're saying, if I were to leave this marriage, this is why I would resign from this marriage. You know, and write that and discuss it and talk about it. And then the termination is, if I were to fire you from this marriage, this is why I feel I would fire you from this marriage. Those are two conversations that definitely, when we had some couples do it, they're like, you shouldn't have people write this letter. They're like, why? It's like, because you really have to go dark. You really have to think about, and that's where we're trying to force you to think about the for better or for worse. Because in that letter, you're talking about your worst. You're talking about what it would take for you to quit your marriage and what it would take for you to fire your spouse from your marriage. So to tell them to get out or tell them I'm going. And that's the whole point of the exercise. So here's the, now we're back to I can't let go. Is your marriage thriving or surviving? I think you have to look at all that we've just talked about and saying, are we emotionally healthy? Are we mentally healthy? Are we physically healthy? Are we spiritually healthy? Did we really mean for better or for worse? Have I explored my worst? Have I given my marriage a chance? Have I been obedient to God about my marriage? There's so much. Have we had the conversations in the rooms? Have we spent enough time in the bathroom dealing with the issues, or looking in the mirror, whether you're married or about to get married, about the issues that could clog up our relationship? Have we really taken our time? So a lot of times people get to this place, in this point, where they're saying, I can't let go. I was teasing with somebody. I was like, y'all the poster child of want to quit, can't leave. And that's a song I listened to by, Lord, I can't think of his name right now. But it's a gospel rapper, and I listened to it. And no, it's not Lecrae. And he talks about it, and he says, we be all in our emotions, want to quit, can't leave. And so sometimes, no. It ain't one I listen to a lot.
Oh,
And so he the one do the he sampled the Heather Headley in my mind. So I
not
can't.
the minor.
Reconcile is his
Okay.
name. Reconcile.
See, I helped you remember.
Yeah, no, you just I had to stop or you gonna keep on whispering names, so I had to figure it out. But reconcile, he talks about love you for life, and so he says want to quit, can't leave, and sometimes the couples really are in that situation where it's a I want to quit but I can't leave, and so it is the Hamilton song of I can't let go, and it's great if you can't let go of that person and you're married and you're really trying to stick it out and you're doing the thing that honors God. But there may come a point, and we're not advocates of divorce, but there may come a point where it is too toxic and you need to let go. But that is a conversation you really need to have with God. I am not one of the persons, we're not the people that are going to say to you, well, you did it's a sin and you shouldn't get a divorce. God hates divorce. It is true. But God doesn't want you to suffer either. But here's the thing that I always say before you leave your marriage, because I'm not going to judge you about it, before you leave your marriage, I just want you to answer a simple thing. Did you do all that God told you to do? Here's the catch: the way that God told you to do it. Did you do everything that God asked you to do the way that God asked you to do it? If you can answer that with a clear conscience, that I did everything He asked me to do, and not only did I do it, I did it the way He wanted. Go not like Moses. He said, "Hey, this time strike the rock. This time speak to the rock." Moses did bring forth; it accomplished the goal of getting the water, but he did not do it the way. It goes back to Saul. He says, "Saul, go over there and kill everything." He did. He's like, "I did what you asked me to do. Then if you did that, why did I hear these sheep?" So it is possible to do everything that God tells you to do it, but you didn't do it with meekness. You didn't do it with loving kindness. You didn't do it with long suffering. You didn't do it without being bitter and resentful. So did you do everything that God told you to do the way He told you to do it?
Obedience.
Obedience. And if you can say yes to that and you want to walk away, that's between you and the Lord. That's working out your own soul salvation. Okay. So I can't let go. Evaluate where you are, evaluate what you have, evaluate what you're doing. And if you've done what you need to do and God gives you peace about it, then you have to go do what you feel you got to do at that point. Okay.
Exactly. I just say if it's unhealthy and you have made up in your mind either you or this person is not going to change or change their mindset or change their perspective. They don't have enough faith in God to change their mind, or the spouse to change their mind. Then I mean, what else is there to do?
So I don't know.
All right.
So we're gonna hit Ask Marriage Refresh. We didn't really get an Ask Marriage Refresh question today, so I'm gonna ask Marriage Refresh.
Oh, okay. What are you gonna ask Marriage Refresh?
I don't know what you got.
You said you had a question.
No. The thing that I would say in terms of Ask Marriage Refresh, we didn't get a question in. So actually, we're just going to jump to our pardon shots here in just a minute. But I do think that there's a question that consistently comes up, and I've just heard it, and we kind of covered it, but it's about the whole divorce thing. What if I married the wrong person? What if I did this? What if I did that? People that are questioning their marriage. And my thing is, you have to go back and start from the beginning of why the three questions. Why did you marry them in the first place? Here's what I'll tell you, because I've had this discussion with some people. If you didn't see, was you a believer when you got married? Yes, I believe it. Did you seek God before you got married? No, I did not. Then you got to sit there until God deliver you and give you peace about leaving. The other thing is that, well, I wasn't a believer when I met him, and so I feel like God isn't giving it. Well, if you at peace with that decision and that's how you want to go with it, then bless your heart, you go ahead. But here's the thing that gets me is the person who says, I sought God, God said yes, but apparently God changed his mind because something else is. You have to be at peace with yourself about your spouse, and you have to start internally about that because sometimes it's not them issue.
Right.
Okay. Next, parting shots. All right. What's your parting shot, honey?
I was gonna ask you what's your parting shot.
My parting shot today, I think, is this. Find a way to get to a place of transparency. I think, in a moment of transparency, that's the area that I have to work on the most, and it's more the transparency about my emotions and my health, but more about my emotions and where I'm at on different things. Is find a way to get transparent, find a way to get back. On my Damon Rich Speaks End of the Day thought today, I was talking about the difference between excuses and reasons. And you can have a valid reason. It becomes an excuse when you don't seek out solutions. You can have a valid reason, but when you don't seek out solutions, it becomes an excuse. That's the Damon definition. I could be wrong, but you could have a valid reason, but when you don't seek out, solutions, then it becomes an excuse. And so, find a way to tackle the tough parts. Find the ways to be vulnerable, to be transparent. Find the solutions to do those things. That's my parting shot.
Awesome. I was just gonna say, actually something kind of close to that, because I think a lot of times people don't own um, who they are and think it lessens you to show transparency, um, lessens you to put feelings out there and be honest about how you feel in your communication because it makes you look a certain way.
Right.
But let go of that pride
Mm-hmm.
and that ego and that arrogance
Mm-hmm.
to just be open enough to show where you are or be honest about where you are, and be willing to work on it, admit when you're wrong. And sometimes, even when you're right, you don't have to like just put it out there, let it be, what it is for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of the marriage. We don't always have to be right or even point out when we're right. But letting go that pride and that ego to say, hey, we can really work on this,
Right.
or work that out, and definitely starting with yourself and being honest. But I think a lot of times people just feel like they're going to have one up on me, or you don't understand the power that you have with owning your transparency or being transparent or being humble, just enough to be like, this is what it is. And of course, because I think a lot of times you're always worried about how they're going to treat you in return, or what are you going to get? Because a lot of times you're taught that if you do this, people are going to take advantage of it. If you do that, but be able to set the bounds and say, this is what it is. And I'm putting this out here for you. And then if they take advantage of it or do whatever, of course, you have to do your part in it to heal, because it's going to hurt. We're human. Our feelings of who we are. But then let your yay be yay and your nay be nay when you put it out there. So that's my parting shot.
Okay. Cool. So that's all we really have for you tonight. So we are, here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. And we thank you for joining us, spending your time with us. Yes. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a couple, tell a single, whatever it is. Tell somebody about Marriage Refresh TV. We thank you for joining us. And until the next time, salute.
Good night.